Hi there, this is Richard with another Bible Nugget. This time we're in 2 Kings chapter 5. And this is the story of Gehazi and his greed. In verse 20, But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, Look, my master has spared Naaman the Syrian, while not receiving from his hands what he brought. But as the Lord... Why is he saying this? But as the Lord lives, he says. This is what he's saying. It's crazy. I will run after him and take something from him. He's making an oath by the Lord, and yet he's totally not doing godly things. Anyway, so Gehazi pursued Naaman. When Naaman saw him running after him, he got down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is all well? And he said, All is well. My master has sent me. Line number 1. Saying, Indeed, just now 2 young men of the sons of the prophets have come to me from the mountains of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. So Naaman said, Yes, please, take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments, and handed them to 2 of his servants, and they carried them on ahead of Gehazi. When he came to the citadel, he took the silver from their hand and stored them away in the house. Then he let the men go, and they departed. Now he went in and stood before his master. And Elisha said to him, Where did you go, Gehazi? And he said, line number 2, Your servant did not go anywhere. And then Elisha says in verse 26, Then he said to him, Did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it time to receive money and to receive clothing, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and oxen, male and female servants? Therefore the leprosy of Naaman shall cling to you, and your descendants forever. And he went out from his presence, leprous, as white as snow. And actually, that I think is the last we see of Gehazi. I mean, he would have been unclean from then on, and he wouldn't have been able to be part of normal society. He would have to live outside the town or in his own separate place, and he couldn't mix with other normal people. And then the next time we see Elisha, a little later on, he's got a new young servant. Now, what I find, interesting is not the right word, what I find alarming, what I find disturbing, is that Gehazi has been with Elisha from the very start of his ministry. He's seen the Shumanite son raised from the dead. He's seen people not being poisoned. He's seen all these miracles and different things that Elisha has done. He's seen the sea part, the River Jordan part when he hits it. He knows all of these things. He's seen miracles of the Lord, and guess what? He still doesn't believe. He still does not believe, because he's making all the pretense, all the noises, as the Lord God lives. It's like, what are you doing? You're chasing off after money, you're lying, and you're being deceptive, and you're thinking that God's going to bless that somehow? It's like he totally misses it all. And then, of course, it's like he doesn't understand that, of course, Elisha has known all these things all along. God's constantly telling him what's going on in the background. How is Elisha not going to know that he's gone out and been lying and deceiving and taking money off Naaman when they weren't supposed to? Anyway, so I think it must be like how the children of Israel were whenever they came out of Egypt. And whenever they crossed the Red Sea and they saw the miracle of the manna and all the miracles that God did at that time, I mean, it was phenomenal. And still, that whole generation that saw all of the plagues, that saw all of the miracles, saw God completely destroying the Egyptians, everything. That whole generation, apart from Joshua and Caleb, died. They died in the wilderness because of their hardness of hearts, because of their unbelief. And this must have been the same with Gehazi. I just really struggle with that. How can you be so? How can he be so spiritually blind? I think the other point with Gehazi as well is it says in the New Testament somewhere that those who seek after wealth will pierce themselves with many griefs. And I think that's, he couldn't help himself. He saw the wealth, he saw everything else, and he thinks, oh, I've got to get some of that. I mean, it might have been, 10 or 15 or 20 years' wages, but what is that in the lifetime of eternity? It's like Korah in the rebellion. Anyway, I just I don't get it, but yeah, I suppose if you're hard, or if you just don't see it, or you're spiritually blind, maybe you walk into it and think it's okay. Anyway, Gehazi's folly. Thanks.